Laya Byrne pressed her back against the barn wall, blood still wet on her hands, her father's blood. Through the crack in the wood, she watched the deputy wipe his blade clean, laughing. They'd killed him for a ledger for names of children sold like cattle. Now, they wanted her.
Repeat after me.
A dying soldier grabbed her wrist.
In sickness
Find
and in
Eli
health.
McCrae. He'll keep you
I now
breathing.
pronounce you husband and wife.
3 days later, she stood before a stranger in a judge's office, whispering, "I don't know how to be a wife." He answered, "Then just lie down and love me." Before we begin, please subscribe to this channel and stay with us until the very end of this story. Comment below which city you're watching from. I want to see how far Laya's journey reaches across the world. The barn smelled like copper and hay. Laya Byrne didn't move. Couldn't. Her father's body lay 3 feet away, throat opened, wide eyes staring at nothing. She'd pressed her hands against the wound, tried to hold the blood inside him, but it came anyway, hot soaking through her fingers, pooling in the dirt beneath him. Now her palms were sticky, her dress ruined, her mind screaming a sound she couldn't let out. Through the gap in the barn wall, she watched Deputy Grady Kane clean his knife on his vest. He was smiling. "Preacher had a mouth on him," Kane said. The man beside him, Hollis, a rancher with a gut like a beer barrel, laughed. "Talked about justice, about God seeing all. Well, God didn't stop me, did he?" Hollis spat tobacco juice. "What about the girl?" Kane's smile faded. "Find her. She saw everything." Laya's breath caught. She clamped a hand over her mouth, tasted salt and iron. "And the ledger?" Hollis asked. "Preacher said he hid it. Said if anything happened to him, it'd reach the fort." Kane sheathed the knife. "But he was lying. Dying men always lie. We find the girl, we find the ledger. Then we burn both." They walked away, boots crunching gravel, voices fading. Laya stayed frozen until the stars came out. Then she ran. "3 days on foot, no food, water from creeks when she found them, just running, stumbling, hiding in brush when riders passed." Her father's voice followed her like a ghost. "Laya, if anything happens to me, find Sergeant Eli McCrae. He's a good man." But her father had been wrong about a lot of things. He'd said God protected the righteous. He'd said the law served justice. He'd said truth would save you. He'd been wrong about all of it. On the 4th day, she collapsed outside a soldier's camp. When she woke, a man was pressing a canteen to her lips. Gray beard, chest wound wrapped in filthy bandages, eyes kind but fading. "Easy now," he said. "You're safe." Laya choked on the water. "They killed him. They killed my father." "I know." She stared. "How?" "Because I know who you are, Miss Byrne, and I know what your father was trying to stop." He coughed. Blood flecked his lips. "Name's Corporal John Dyer. I've been tracking the same men who killed him, but I'm dying and I won't last the week." Her throat closed. "Then what do I do?" Dyer pulled a folded paper from his coat. "You go to Eli McCrae, rancher near Casper. Tell him John Dyer sent you. Tell him he still owes me a life." "What if he doesn't believe me?" "He will." Dyer pressed the paper into her hand. His fingers were cold. "And Miss Byrne, change your name. If Kane finds you, he won't just kill you. He'll make you wish he had." Casper was a nothing town. 1 street, 2 saloons, a church that looked ready to fall. She found the McCrae Ranch 5 miles north. Low house, weathered barn, cattle scattered across brown grass. The man who answered the door was tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair going gray at the temples, eyes pale as winter sky. "Eli McCrae?" she asked. He nodded. "John Dyer sent me." Something flickered in his eyes. He stepped aside. "Come in." The house was clean, sparse, table, 2 chairs, wood stove, bed in the corner. No softness anywhere. He poured her water, sat across from her, waited. Laya told him everything. About her father, the preacher who'd stumbled onto a child trafficking ring. About the ledger full of names. Ranchers, lawmen, men who bought children like livestock. About Cain's knife, her father's blood, 3 days running. When she finished, Eli sat silent. "The ledger?" he finally asked. "My father hid it before they came. I don't know where." Eli rubbed his jaw. "Cain works for Hollis. That means half the law in this territory is dirty." "I know. If they find you, they'll kill you." "I know that too." He looked at her then. Really looked. She saw something unexpected: grief. "You can't stay here," he said quietly. "Not as Leah Brennan, not as anyone. If they come asking questions, if they see a young woman alone on my land, they'll figure it out." Her chest tightened. "Then what do I do?" Eli stood, walked to the window, stared at the empty fields. "You marry me." Leah blinked. "What?" "You marry me. Take my name. Become my wife. That way, if anyone asks, you've got a reason to be here. You've got protection." "But I'm not asking you to love me, Miss Byrne. I'm not asking you to share my bed or cook my meals or pretend this is real. I'm asking you to survive. This is the only way I know how." She stared at him, heart hammering. "Why would you do this?" "Because I owe John Dyer my life, and because no woman should die for telling the truth." They married 3 days later. A circuit judge. 10 minutes. A few words Leah didn't hear. Eli slipped a thin gold band on her finger, bent old, probably his mother's. He didn't kiss her, didn't smile, just nodded once and paid the judge $5. Walking back to the ranch, Leah felt like she was floating. That night she stood staring at the bed. "You take it," Eli said. "I'll sleep in the barn." She turned. "You don't have to." "I know. This is your house. I should—" "Laya." His voice was quiet, firm. "Take the bed." She swallowed. "I don't know how to do this." "Do what?" "Be a wife." Eli looked at her, crossed the room, stopped a few feet away. "Then just lie down and love me." Her breath caught. "I don't mean—" He shook his head, frustrated with himself. "I'm not asking for anything. I just mean, be here. Be alive. That's all you need to know." Leah's eyes burned. She nodded. Eli turned to leave. She caught his sleeve. "Thank you." He didn't look back. "Get some sleep." The first week moved like a fever dream. Laya woke expecting him to demand something: touch, service, proof she was worth keeping. But he never did. He made coffee, left. Her half went out to work cattle. She cleaned because she didn't know what else to do. Mended his shirts because her hands needed to move. Cooked simple meals: beans, bread, stew. He ate without complaint. They barely spoke. But she noticed things. When she walked outside, he kept himself between her and the road. When they went to town for supplies, he stood close enough that no man dared speak to her. One morning her boots, the ones with the worn sole, sat by the door, freshly mended. She didn't ask. He didn't explain. One night, she found him on the porch staring at stars. She sat beside him, wrapped in a blanket. "You don't have to stay out here," she said. "I know." "The house is big enough." He glanced at her. "You sure?" She nodded. That night, he slept on the floor by the stove. She didn't argue. It was enough that he was close. The town started talking. Eli McCrae married a stranger. Young thing, barely 20. Don't talk much, keeps her eyes down. Running from something, I bet. Leah heard them at the general store, felt their stares when she passed the saloon. One afternoon, a drunk cowboy blocked her path. "You Eli's new wife." She tried to step around him. He grabbed her arm. "I asked you a question, sweetheart." A hand clamped the cowboy's shoulder. Eli's voice was soft, almost gentle. Let her go. The cowboy turned, grinning. We're just talking. No. You're letting her go. Then you're walking away. The cowboy's grin faded. You threatening me? I don't hit weak men. But if you touch her again, I'll make sure you forget how to walk. The cowboy stumbled back, pale. She ain't worth it, McCrae. Eli's face didn't change. Yes, she is. They walked home in silence. At the house, Laya spoke. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. People will talk. Let them. She looked at him, saw anger, not at her, at the world. Why do you care? She whispered. Eli met her eyes. Because you're my wife. 2 weeks in, something broke. Laya was washing dishes when the plate slipped, shattered on the floor. She froze, staring at the pieces, heart pounding. Footsteps behind her. She flinched. Eli stopped. Laya. I'm sorry. Her voice shook. I didn't mean I'll clean it up. Hey. He moved closer, slowly. It's just a plate. But it was yours, and I broke it, and... Laya. He crouched beside her. Look at me. She did. His eyes were calm. It's just a plate, he said again. I'm not angry. You're not... No. She stared at him. Then the tears came. Hot, fast, unstoppable. She covered her face with her hands, shoulders shaking. Eli didn't touch her, just stayed close. I'm sorry, she gasped. I don't know why You've been running for weeks. You watched your father die. You married a stranger. You're allowed to break. She looked up at him through tears. You're not going to hurt me. His jaw tightened. No, Laya. I'm never going to hurt you. Something in her chest loosened. He stood, held out his hand. She took it. He pulled her up, handed her a cloth. Go sit down, he said. I'll clean this up. But... Go. She went. He swept up the broken plate, made her tea, sat across from her at the table. My father used to hit my mother, he said quietly. For burning dinner. For talking back. For breathing wrong. I swore I'd never be him. Laya's throat ached. I'm sorry. Don't be. Just know I meant what I said on our wedding night. You don't have to know how to be a wife. You just have to be here. She wiped her eyes. I'm trying. I know. Winter came hard. Snow buried the ranch. Laya spent days by the fire sewing, reading Eli's one book, A Warren Whitman. He chopped wood-fed cattle, kept them alive. One night she woke to find him sitting by the stove shaking. Eli. She sat up. What's wrong? He didn't answer. She moved closer, saw sweat on his brow, trembling hands. Are you sick? No. His voice was hoarse. Just old ghosts. She saw the scars on his wrists. Faint, white, years old. You were a soldier. He nodded. What happened? Silence. Then, I was captured. 3 months. When they let me go, I wasn't the same. Laya's chest ached. She reached out, covered his hand with hers. He flinched, but didn't pull away. You're not alone anymore, she whispered. Eli's jaw worked. Neither are you. The days blurred. Wake. Feed chickens, gather eggs, coffee, mend, cook, clean, sleep, simple, quiet. But in that simplicity, Laya found peace. Eli never demanded, never raised his voice, never made her small. One morning she found him struggling with his shirt buttons. Cold, stiff fingers. Without thinking, she crossed the room. Did it for him. He stared at her. You don't have to. I know. She finished the last button. But I want to. Something shifted in his eyes, softened. Thank you, Laya. It was the first time her name sounded like it meant something. One night, deep in winter, the wind howled like wolves. Laya couldn't sleep. She got up, found Eli sitting at the table cleaning his rifle. "Can't sleep either?" she asked. He shook his head. She sat across from him, watched him work. "Can I ask you something?" "Yeah." "Why did you really marry me?" Eli's hands stilled. "I told you. I owe John Dyer." "No." She leaned forward. "Why did you do it? Not for Dyer. For you." He set the rifle down, met her eyes. "Because I was tired of being alone." The honesty hit her like a fist. "I came back from the war," he continued, "and everyone looked at me different, like I was broken, dangerous. Women crossed the street when they saw me. Men wouldn't meet my eyes. I built this ranch because I didn't know what else to do. And I've been here 5 years working, eating, sleeping, waiting to die." He paused. "Then you showed up, scared, running, needing help. And I thought, maybe I could still be useful. Maybe I could keep one person alive." His voice dropped. "I didn't expect you to make me want to stay alive too." Laya's eyes burned. "You're not broken," she whispered. "Neither are you." She stood, crossed to his side of the table, took his face in her hands. "Thank you," she said, "for seeing me." Eli's eyes closed. He leaned into her touch. For the first time since her father died, Laya felt whole. Spring arrived slow. Snow melted, grass greened, cattle fattened. Laya planted a garden: carrots, potatoes, herbs. Eli built her a fence. One afternoon they sat on the porch watching sunset. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Regret what?" "Marrying me." Eli was quiet. Then, "No. Even though I brought trouble. You brought me a reason to wake up." He looked at her. "That's not nothing." Her throat tightened. "I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to." "But I want to." He reached out, tucked hair behind her ear. His hand lingered. "Then just stay." Laya leaned into his touch. "I'm not going anywhere." But the devil always returns. One evening a rider approached. Laya saw him from the window. Froze. Deputy Grady Kane. Eli saw her face, stood immediately. "Back room. Don't come out." "Eli, go." She obeyed, pressed her ear to the door. Kane's voice drifted through, smooth as poison. "Heard you got married, McCrae. Didn't take you for the type." "What do you want, Kane?" "Just checking in. New bride people talk. Wanted to make sure everything's legal." "It is." "Good, good." A pause. "She got a name." "Laya McCrae." "Where's she from?" "East." "Vague." "It's all you're getting." Silence. Then Kane chuckled. "You're making a mistake protecting her." "Get off my land." "I'm just doing my job." "Your job is to leave." More silence. Then boots on gravel, fading. When Laya emerged, Eli stood by the window, jaw clenched. "He knows," she whispered. "Maybe." Eli turned. "But he doesn't have proof. Without proof, he can't touch you." "What if he comes back? Then I'll handle it." She crossed to him, put her hand on his chest, felt his heart pounding. "I'm scared," she admitted. Eli covered her hand with his. "Me too." The honesty shocked her. "But I'm not letting him take you," he said. "I don't care what I have to do." Laya looked up at him, saw the soldier beneath the rancher, the man who'd survived hell and come out breathing. "What did I do to deserve you?" she whispered. "You didn't do anything." His thumb brushed her knuckles. "You just showed up. And you stayed." That night, Eli didn't sleep on the floor. He lay beside her on the bed, fully clothed on top of the covers, close enough that she could hear him breathe. She reached out in the dark, found his hand. He squeezed back. And for the first time since her father died, Laya Byrne slept without nightmares. But outside in the dark Wyoming night, Grady Kane sat on his horse, watching the McCrae ranch, smiling. Morning came cold and gray. Laya woke with Eli's hand still in hers. He was already awake, staring at the ceiling. "How long have you been up?" she asked. "A while." She squeezed his hand. "What are you thinking? That Kane's not going to stop." She'd known it too, had felt it in her bones the moment she saw that smile on his face. "What do we do?" she whispered. Eli turned his head, looked at her. "We live. We keep going. And we don't give him a reason to come back. And if he finds one anyway, then we deal with it." She wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that love and determination could stand against men like Kane. But she'd seen what those men did, how they burned everything they touched. Eli sat up, swung his legs off the bed. "I'm going into town. Need supplies." "I'll come with you." "No." She sat up too. "Eli, if Kane sees you, he'll ask questions. Better you stay here." "I don't want to be alone." He looked at her, really looked, then nodded. "All right, but you stay close to me. And if I tell you to leave, you leave. Understand?" "Yes." They rode into Casper an hour later. The town was busier than usual. Ranchers bringing cattle to market, women shopping for spring planting, children running wild between buildings. Laya kept her head down, stayed at Eli's side. At the general store, the owner, a thin man named Porter, greeted them with a nervous smile. "Morning, McCrae. Mrs. McCrae." Eli nodded. "Need flour, sugar, salt, coffee if you've got it?" "I've got it." Porter started gathering items, hands shaking slightly. "Heard you had a visitor yesterday." Eli's voice stayed level. "News travels fast. Deputy Kane's been asking questions about newcomers, about young women." Laya's stomach dropped. "What kind of questions?" Eli asked. Porter glanced at Laya, then away. "Whether anyone's seen a girl matching a certain description. Dark hair, early 20s. Might be going by a different name." "What did you tell him?" "Nothing. Told him I mind my own business." Porter set the flour on the counter. "But others might not be so careful." Eli pulled out money. "Appreciate the warning." "McCrae." Porter hesitated. "Whatever trouble you're in, be careful. Kane's got friends, powerful ones." "So do I." They left with the supplies. Outside, Laya grabbed Eli's arm. "He's looking for me. He knows I'm here." "He suspects. He doesn't know." "What's the difference?" Eli loaded the supplies into the wagon. "The difference is proof, and he doesn't have any. Yet." He turned to her. "Laya, listen to me. You're my wife. That's legal. That's documented. Even if Kane suspects who you really are, he can't touch you without evidence, and we're not giving him any." A voice cut through the air. "McCrae." They both turned. Grady Kane stood 20 feet away, thumbs hooked in his belt, that same snake smile on his face. He looked at Laya, and something cold slithered down her spine. "Deputy," Eli said flatly. "Thought that was you." Kane walked closer, spurs jingling. "And this must be the new Mrs. McCrae." Laya said nothing. "She don't talk much, does she?" Kane tilted his head, studying her. "Shy type." "She talks when she wants to," Eli said. "What do you want, Kane?" "Just being neighborly. Wanted to welcome your bride to the territory." Kane's eyes never left Laya's face. "You look familiar, ma'am. We ever meet before?" Laya's mouth went dry. "No," Eli said. "She's from back east. Never been to Wyoming before." "That right." Kane stepped closer. "Where back east?" "Pennsylvania," Laya said. Her voice came out stronger than she expected. Near Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. Cain rolled the word around his mouth. Long way from home. It is. What brought you all the way out here? Love, she said simply. Met his eyes. I came for love. Something flickered in Cain's face. Surprise, maybe. Or doubt. That's sweet, he said slowly. Real sweet. Must have been quite a courtship. It was fast, Eli said. When you know, you know. Cain's smile returned. I suppose so. He tipped his hat. Well, Mrs. McCrae, welcome to Wyoming. Hope you enjoy your stay. He walked away. Laya didn't breathe until he was out of sight. Get in the wagon, Eli said quietly. She obeyed. He climbed up beside her, took the reins. They didn't speak until they were a mile out of town. He knows, Laya said. Maybe. No, he knows. I saw it in his eyes. Eli's jaw worked. Then we need to be smarter. How? We act normal. We live our lives. We don't give him anything to use against us. And if that's not enough, Eli looked at her. Then we run. The word hung between them like a stone. I don't want to run anymore, Laya whispered. Neither do I, but I won't let him take you. She leaned against his shoulder. He shifted the reins to one hand, put his arm around her. They rode home in silence. That night, Laya couldn't sleep. She lay beside Eli, listening to his breathing, trying to match hers to his. It didn't work. Every sound made her jump: the wind, the creak of wood, the distant cry of a coyote. Laya, Eli said softly. You're shaking. I can't stop thinking about him. About what he did to my father. Eli rolled onto his side, faced her in the dark. Tell me about your father. What? Tell me about him. Not about how he died. About who he was. Laya's throat tightened. Why? Because Cain doesn't get to be the last thing you remember. Your father deserves better than that. She closed her eyes. Tears leaked out. He was kind, she said. He loved people. Really loved them. The broken ones, the lost ones, the ones nobody else wanted. He'd bring them food, find them work, sit with them when they were dying. He believed everyone deserved grace. Sounds like a good man. He was. Too good for this world. She opened her eyes. He found out about the trafficking ring by accident. A woman came to him, said her daughter had disappeared. Then another. And another. He started asking questions, following trails. And he found the ledger. Where? I don't know. He never told me. Said it was safer if I didn't know. Her voice broke. He was trying to protect me and I couldn't save him. That's not your fault. Feels like it is. Eli reached out, wiped her tears with his thumb. Your father died protecting children. That's not nothing. That's everything. But what if it was for nothing? What if Cain destroys the ledger, kills everyone who knows, and those children are just gone? Then we make sure it wasn't for nothing. She looked at him. How? We find the ledger. We get it to the fort. We finish what your father started. Eli, that's the right thing to do, I know. He cupped her face. But we do it smart. We do it careful, and we don't die doing it. Laya's heart pounded. You'd risk your life for this? I'd risk my life for you. The ledger's just part of it. She kissed him. It was sudden, impulsive, born of fear and gratitude, and something deeper she couldn't name. His lips were warm, rough, gentle. He froze for a second, then kissed her back, slow, careful, like he was afraid she'd break. When they pulled apart, she was crying again. I'm sorry, she whispered. I shouldn't have. Don't apologize. His voice was hoarse. Don't ever apologize for that. I don't know what I'm doing. Neither do I. He pressed his forehead to hers. But we'll figure it out. They fell asleep, tangled together, and for a few hours, the world felt safe. The next morning, Eli rode out to check fence lines. Laya stayed home tending the garden, feeding chickens, trying to keep her hands busy so her mind wouldn't race. She was pulling weeds when she heard hoofbeats. Her head snapped up. 3 riders approaching. Not Eli. She stood slowly, heart hammering. Recognized one of them, Hollis the rancher who'd been with Cain the night her father died. She ran for the house, made it inside, locked the door, grabbed Eli's rifle from above the mantel. Her hands shook so badly she almost dropped it. The riders stopped outside. Mrs. McCrae. Hollis's voice was jovial false. "We're looking for your husband. Is he home?" Laya didn't answer. "Mrs. McCrae, we just want to talk. No trouble." She cocked the rifle. The sound echoed. Silence. Then Hollis laughed. "Now that's unfriendly. We're neighbors, ma'am, just here to discuss a land matter." "My husband's not home," Laya called. "Come back later." "When will he be back?" "I don't know." Another pause. Then a different voice, younger, meaner. "Maybe we should wait inside. Keep the lady company." "No," Hollis said quickly. "We'll come back." "But—" "I said no." Hollis's voice hardened. "Let's go." The hoofbeats faded. Laya stood there, rifle aimed at the door, shaking so hard her teeth chattered. She stayed like that until she heard Eli's horse. She stumbled outside. He took one look at her face and dismounted fast. "What happened?" "Hollis. He came with 2 others, looking for you." Eli's face went cold. "Did they touch you?" "No. I got inside, locked the door. But Eli, one of them, wanted to come in." Hollis stopped him, but "They know." Eli pulled her close. "They know who you are. What do we do?" "We leave, tonight. And go where, ma'am? Fort Laramie. We tell the army everything. We let them handle it. But the ledger? We'll find it. But first, I need you alive." He tilted her chin up. "Can you be ready by sundown?" She nodded. "Good. Pack light. Food, water, warm clothes. Nothing else." They spent the afternoon preparing. Eli loaded the wagon, checked weapons, saddled horses. Laya packed what little she owned, 2 dresses, her father's Bible, the bent gold ring she never took off. As the sun set, Eli came inside. "We leave in an hour, soon as it's dark enough." Laya looked around the house. This place that had been a sanctuary, a home. "I'm sorry," she said. "For what?" "For bringing this on you. For ruining your life." Eli crossed to her, took her shoulders. "Laya, listen to me. You didn't ruin my life. You saved it. Before you came, I was just existing. Now I'm living. You understand. But, no buts. Whatever happens next, we face it together." She nodded, kissed him, tried to memorize the feel of him, the taste of him, in case this was the last quiet moment they had. They were loading the last of the supplies when they heard it. Hoofbeats, many of them. Eli grabbed his rifle. "Get in the wagon. Now." Eli. "Now." She climbed in. He jumped onto the seat beside her, snapped the reins. The horses bolted. Behind them, riders poured over the hill. 6, 7, maybe more. Torches in the darkness. "Go, go, go," Eli shouted. The wagon flew across the prairie, bouncing over rocks, wheels screaming. Laya held on hard in her throat. A gunshot cracked the air. "Stay down," Eli yelled. She ducked. Another shot. Closer. Eli fired back, one-handed, still driving. The rifle's roar was deafening. A rider fell. The others kept coming. "There," Laya pointed. "The creek." Eli saw it. A narrow ravine, steep-sided, choked with brush. He yanked the reins, drove the wagon toward it. "When I say jump, you jump. Understand? What about you? I'll be right behind you. Jump." She jumped. Hit the ground hard. Rolled. Came up covered in dirt and grass. Eli jumped a second later. The wagon kept going driverless, crashing into the ravine. He grabbed her hand. "Run." They ran into the darkness, into the brush, into the creek. Cold water soaked them to the waist. Behind them, the riders shouted confused. "Where'd they go? Find them! Spread out!" Eli pulled Laya under an overhang, pressed her against the bank. They stood in icy water, breathing hard, trying to be silent. Torchlight flickered above. "They can't have gone far. Check the creek." Footsteps, splashing. Eli put his hand over Laya's mouth. She nodded. Understood. A rider passed within 10 feet of them. So close she could smell his horse. Then he was gone. They waited. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, the torches moved away. Voices faded. "They'll come back," Eli whispered. "We need to keep moving." "Where?" "North. There's a Comanche camp about 5 miles from here. If we can reach them, we'll be safe." "Comanche, Eli, they'll kill us." "No, they won't. I saved one of their warriors during the war. They owe me." She wanted to argue, wanted to say this was insane, but she'd run out of options. "Okay," she said. "Okay." They moved through the creek, slow, careful, staying in the water to hide their tracks. Laya's teeth chattered. Her legs ached, but she didn't stop. After an hour, Eli helped her up the bank. They crouched in tall grass listening. Nothing. "Come on," he said. They walked, stumbled, kept going. Dawn broke gray and cold. Laya's dress was frozen to her skin. Her lips were blue, but she didn't complain. Eli stopped suddenly, held up a hand. 3 Comanche warriors materialized from the grass like ghosts. Rifles raised. Laya's heart stopped. Eli raised his hands slowly, spoke in a language she didn't understand. The warriors listened. One of them lowered his rifle, spoke back. Eli nodded, turned to Laya. "They'll take us to their camp. We're safe." "How do you know?" "Because that's Bearclaw, the man I saved." The warrior Bearclaw studied Laya, then said something to Eli. Eli answered. Bearclaw nodded, gestured. "Come." They followed the warriors across the prairie. Laya's legs gave out twice, each time Eli caught her. The Comanche camp appeared in a shallow valley. Teepees, cookfires, women and children moving between them. People stared as they passed. Laya kept her eyes down. Bearclaw led them to a tipi, spoke to a woman inside. She emerged, looked Laya over, and nodded. "She'll take care of you," Eli said. "I need to talk to the elders. Tell them what's happening." "Don't leave me." "I'm not leaving. I'm just—" He cupped her face. "I'll be right outside. I promise." The woman, her name was White Dove, brought Laya inside, gave her dry clothes, wrapped her in furs, fed her broth that tasted like nothing she'd ever had, but warmed her from the inside out. White Dove didn't speak English, but her hands were gentle, her eyes kind. Laya cried, couldn't help it. Everything her father, the running, the fear, the cold, crashed over her all at once. White Dove held her, rocked her, hummed something soft. When Eli came back, Laya was asleep. He sat beside her, watched her breathe, and made a decision. Tomorrow they'd ride to Fort Laramie. Tomorrow they'd tell the army everything. Tomorrow they'd end this. But tonight he'd let her rest. Outside, Bearclaw approached, sat beside him. "Your woman is strong," he said in halting English. "She is. The men who hunt her, they are evil. Yes, we will help you." Eli looked at him. "I can't ask that. You are not asking. I am offering." Bearclaw's face was hard. "You saved my life. Now I save yours. This is the way." Eli nodded. "Thank you." Bearclaw stood. "Rest tonight. Tomorrow we ride to the fort. Together." He walked away. Eli looked back at Laya. She was curled under the fur's hair spilling across the blanket face, finally peaceful. He loved her. The realization hit him like a blow. Not the quiet affection he'd felt before, Not the protective instinct, but real, deep, terrifying love. And he'd do anything, fight anyone, burn anything to keep her safe, even if it killed him. Morning came too soon. Laya woke to find Eli sitting beside her, cleaning his rifle. "How long was I asleep?" she asked. "All night. How do you feel?" "Like I've been trampled by horses." He smiled. "Almost. Bear Claw and his warriors are riding with us to Fort Laramie. We leave in an hour." She sat up. "Eli, if Cain finds out we're going to the fort." "He already knows. That's why we're not going alone." They ate quickly dried meat, some kind of bread, and prepared to leave. White Dove gave Laya moccasins warmer than her ruined boots. She hugged the woman, tried to say thank you in Comanche. White Dove smiled. 6 warriors rode with them. Bear Claw led. Eli and Laya rode together, her arms around his waist, her face pressed to his back. The journey took 2 days. They saw riders in the distance once. Bear Claw veered away. The riders didn't follow. At night they camped cold. No fires, no noise. Laya slept pressed against Eli, his arms around her, his breath in her hair. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Me too." "What if they don't believe us?" "They will. We'll make them." "And if they don't? Then we keep fighting." She turned in his arms, kissed him. "I love you." The words surprised them both. Eli stared at her. "Laya, I know this isn't the right time. I know we're running for our lives. But I needed to say it, because if something happens—" He kissed her, hard, desperate. "Nothing's going to happen," he said against her mouth. "You hear me? Nothing. Promise me." "I promise." He was lying. They both knew it, but it was enough. Fort Laramie rose from the prairie like a fortress. High walls, armed soldiers, the American flag snapping in the wind. Bear Claw stopped at the gate. "We go no further. You go alone now." "Thank you," Eli said, "for everything." Bear Claw nodded. "You are a good man, Eli McCrae. May the spirits protect you." He and his warriors rode away. Eli and Laya approached the gate. A soldier stopped them. "State your business." "We need to speak to the commanding officer," Eli said. "It's urgent." "About what?" "Child trafficking, murder, corruption, and Deputy Grady Cain." The soldier's expression changed. "Come with me." They were led to a small office. A man in a colonel's uniform sat behind a desk, graying, stern, tired. "I'm Colonel Dawson," he said. "You've got 5 minutes. Talk." Laya told him everything. Every word, every name, every detail she could remember. When she finished, Dawson was silent. "That's quite an accusation," he said finally. "It's the truth," Eli said. "You have proof." "Not yet. But there's a ledger." "Where?" Laya hesitated. "I don't know." Dawson's face hardened. "Then what do you expect me to do?" "Investigate," Eli said. "Send men to question Hollis, to look into Cain's finances, something." "Based on the word of a runaway girl and a rancher. Based on the murder of a preacher," Laya said quietly. "My father died for this. Children are dying for this. If you do nothing, you're as guilty as they are." Dawson's jaw tightened. "Watch your tone." "No." She stood. "I won't, because I'm tired of powerful men protecting each other while children disappear. I'm tired of being afraid, and I'm tired of justice being something only rich people get." The room went silent. Dawson studied her. Then he sighed. "All right. I'll send men to investigate. But if you're lying—" "We're not." "Then pray your story holds up, because if it doesn't, Cain will have you hanged for slander." They left the office, stood in the courtyard shaking. "What now?" Laya asked. Now we wait. But they didn't have to wait long, because that afternoon a soldier brought them news. Deputy Grady Kane was outside the fort, and he wanted Laya Byrne handed over for murder. The words hung in the air like a noose. Laya felt the ground tilt beneath her. Murder. The soldier, young nervous, wouldn't meet her eyes. Deputy Kane says you killed a man in Cheyenne, says there's a warrant. That's a lie, Eli said. His voice was steel. She's never been to Cheyenne. I'm just delivering the message, sir. Colonel wants to see you both. Now. They followed him back to Dawson's office. The colonel stood by the window, arms crossed, face unreadable. Sit down, he said. They sat. Dawson turned, looked at Laya. Deputy Kane is outside my fort with 5 men and a warrant for your arrest. He says you murdered a shopkeeper named Thomas Brennan in Cheyenne 3 months ago. Says you stole money and ran. Laya's mind raced. Brennan, that's the name I've been using. He's setting me up. That's convenient. It's the truth. She leaned forward. Colonel, I told you Kane killed my father. He's trying to silence me before I can testify against him. Or you're a murderer trying to hide behind false accusations. I'm not... Colonel, Eli interrupted. If she were a murderer, why would we come here? Why would we walk straight into a military fort and ask for help? Dawson considered this. Good question. Because we're telling the truth, Laya said. And Kane knows it. That's why he's here. That's why he's desperate. Then prove it. How? Tell me where the ledger is. Give me something concrete. Because right now, all I have is your word against a deputy's, and his word comes with a legal warrant. Laya's throat closed. She didn't know where the ledger was. Her father had hidden it, said it was safer that way. And now he was dead, and the secret had died with him. I can't, she whispered. Dawson's face hardened. Then I have no choice but to turn you over. No. Eli stood. You can't. I can, and I will. This is federal land, but that's a legal warrant. If I refuse to honor it, I'm obstructing justice. You're not obstructing justice, you're enabling murder. That's your opinion, Mr. McCrae, not a legal fact. Colonel, please. Laya stood too. Give me time. Let me find the ledger. Let me prove. I've given you time. I've listened to your story. But without evidence, my hands are tied. A knock on the door. Another soldier entered. Sir Deputy Kane is demanding entry. Says if we don't hand over the prisoner, he'll take it to the territorial governor. Dawson cursed under his breath. Tell him I'll speak with him in 10 minutes. The soldier left. Dawson looked at Laya. For a moment, just a moment, his expression softened. I want to believe you, he said quietly. I do. But I'm a soldier. I follow the law. And the law says I have to turn you over. Then the law is wrong, Eli said. Maybe, but it's still the law. What if I could buy you time? Eli asked suddenly. Dawson frowned. What do you mean? Give me 3 days. Let me go back to my ranch search for the ledger. If I find it, I bring it here. If I don't, he swallowed. If I don't, you hand her over. No fight. Eli, no, Laya said. It's the only way. You can't promise that. You don't even know where to look. I'll figure it out. Dawson shook his head. I can't hold her here for 3 days without cause. Kane will raise hell. Then arrest me, Laya said. Both men stared at her. Arrest me for something else. Trespassing, theft, I don't care. Just keep me here. Give Eli the time he needs. Dawson studied her. You're willing to sit in a military jail cell. If it keeps me away from Kane, yes. The colonel was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. All right, I'll arrest you for trespassing on federal land. That buys you 72 hours. After that, I have to answer to the warrant. He looked at Eli. 3 days. If you don't find that ledger, she hangs. I'll find it, Eli said. Laya grabbed his arm. Eli, this is insane. You don't even know where my father hid it. Then I'll search every inch of ground between here and Cheyenne if I have to. He took her face in his hands. I'm not letting you die. Not for this. Not for anything. But... He kissed her. Hard. Desperate. Like it might be the last time. Trust me, he whispered. She wanted to argue, wanted to scream that this was suicide, that he'd get himself killed for nothing. But she saw the determination in his eyes, the stubborn set of his jaw, and she knew nothing she said would change his mind. Okay, she said. Okay, I trust you. Dawson called for guards. They took Laya gently, no chains, no rough handling, and led her to a small cell in the fort's stockade. It was clean at least. A cot, a blanket, a bucket. She sat on the cot and tried not to cry. Eli watched her go, then turned to Dawson. Thank you, he said. Don't thank me yet. If you don't find that ledger, I'm sending her to the gallows. I'll find it. How you said yourself you don't know where it is. No, but I know someone who might. Dawson raised an eyebrow. Who? The preacher's congregation. Someone had to know what he was doing. Someone had to help him hide it. And if they didn't, Eli's jaw tightened. Then I'll dig up every floorboard in every church between here and Cheyenne until I find it. He left before Dawson could respond. Outside the fort, Grady Kane leaned against his horse, smiling that snake smile. McCrae, he drawled. Heard your wife's in trouble. Eli didn't stop walking. Get out of my way, Kane. Now that's unfriendly. I'm just here to collect a fugitive. Legal-like. She's not a fugitive. She's innocent. That's for a judge to decide. Eli stopped, turned, looked Kane dead in the eye. You killed her father. You set her up, and you're going to pay for it. Kane's smile widened. Big words from a man with no proof. I'll get proof. How the ledger's gone, the preacher's dead, and soon his little girl will be too. Kane leaned closer. You should have stayed out of this, McCrae. Now you're going to watch her hang. Eli's fist moved before his brain caught up. The punch caught Kane square in the jaw, sent him sprawling in the dirt. Kane's men reached for their guns. Eli's hand dropped to his own. Go ahead, Eli said quietly. Draw. See what happens. Kane sat up, spitting blood. His eyes were murderous. You just assaulted a lawman. You assaulted decency. Now get up and get out of my sight before I do worse. Kane stood slowly, wiped blood from his mouth. You're a dead man, McCrae. Maybe, but I'll take you with me. Kane mounted his horse. His men followed. They rode away, but Kane's eyes stayed on Eli until they disappeared over the hill. Eli's hand was shaking. He looked down, saw blood on his knuckles. Kane's or his own, he didn't know. A voice behind him. That was stupid. He turned. Bearclaw stood there, arms crossed. I thought you left, Eli said. We watched. Waited. Bearclaw nodded toward the trees. 3 more warriors emerged. You need help. I can't ask. You are not asking. I am offering. Again. Bearclaw's face was serious. The bad men hunt your woman, so we hunt the bad men. This is the way. Eli's throat tightened. Thank you. Where do we start? Cheyenne. There's a church there, the one Laya's father preached at. If the ledger's anywhere, it's there. Then we ride. They rode hard. 4 men across open prairie, pushing their horses to the edge of collapse. They reached Cheyenne by nightfall, a rough town, all saloons and brothels, and desperate people looking for something they'd never find. The church sat on the edge of town, small and crooked, its white paint peeling. Eli dismounted, approached the door. It was locked. He kicked it open. Inside the church was dark, empty, pews covered in dust, the altar bare. It looked like no one had been here in months. Spread out, Eli said. Look for loose floorboards, hidden compartments, anything. They searched. Bear Claw and his warriors moved silently, methodically. Eli tore through the place like a man possessed, pulling up boards, checking under pews, running his hands along walls. Nothing. An hour passed. Then 2. Eli, Bear Claw called. Come here. Eli ran to where Bear Claw stood behind the altar, staring at the floor. There, carved into a single board, was a symbol, a cross with a circle around it. This means something, Bear Claw said. Eli knelt, examined it. The board was newer than the others, deliberately placed. He pried it up. Underneath, wrapped in oilcloth, was a small leather book. Eli's hands shook as he opened it. Names, dozens of them. Ranchers, lawmen, politicians. Dates, locations, payments. And at the bottom of each page, in careful handwriting, children delivered. Ages 6 to 14. His stomach turned. This is it, he whispered. This is the ledger. Then we ride back, Bear Claw said. No, not yet. Eli closed the book. If we ride straight back, Cain's men will ambush us. We need to be smart. What do you suggest? We split up. You take the ledger to the fort. I'll lead Cain's men away. Bear Claw shook his head. That is suicide. It's the only way to make sure the ledger gets there. Then we fight together. No. Eli looked at him. You've done enough. This is my fight now. You saved my life. Now I save yours. That is the way. Eli wanted to argue, but he saw the determination in Bear Claw's eyes, the same stubborn honor that lived in Laya, and he knew arguing was useless. All right, he said. But if it comes to a fight, you run. You get that ledger to Colonel Dawson, no matter what. Promise me. Bear Claw nodded slowly. I promise. They left the church, mounted up, and rode. But they'd barely made it a mile when gunfire erupted. Eli's horse screamed, stumbled. He threw himself from the saddle, hit the ground hard, rolled. More gunshots. Bear Claw's warriors returned fire. Through the chaos, Eli saw them, Cain and his men, at least 8 of them, rifles raised. Go! Eli shouted at Bear Claw. Get the ledger out of here! Bear Claw hesitated. Go! Bear Claw wheeled his horse, took off at a gallop. 2 of his warriors followed, covering his retreat. The 3rd stayed with Eli. Cain's men pursued Bear Claw, but 3 broke off, circling toward Eli and the warrior. Eli fired, missed, fired again. 1 man fell. The warrior's rifle cracked. Another man dropped. But the 3rd kept coming, and Eli recognized him. Hollis. This is for meddling McCrae, Hollis shouted. He fired. The bullet caught the warrior in the chest. He fell without a sound. Eli roared, charged, tackled Hollis off his horse. They hit the ground, grappling. Hollis was bigger, heavier, but Eli fought with the fury of a man with nothing left to lose. Hollis's hands found Eli's throat. Squeezed. Eli couldn't breathe. His vision darked. He fumbled for his knife, found it, drove it into Hollis's side. Hollis screamed, "Let go!" Eli gasped, air rolled away, stood. Hollis was on the ground, clutching his wound, blood pouring between his fingers. "You're a fool, McCrae," Hollis wheezed. "You think that ledger will save her? Cain's got judges in his pocket, lawyers, the governor himself. Maybe, but at least people will know the truth. The truth don't matter when you're dead." Eli raised his gun. "Neither does lying." He fired. Hollis went still. Eli stood there, breathing hard, covered in blood and dirt and the weight of what he'd just done. He'd killed a man, not in war, not in self-defense, in cold execution, and he didn't regret it. He heard hoofbeats, turned. Bear Claw rode back alone. "The ledger?" Eli asked. "Safe. My brothers are taking it to the fort." Bear Claw dismounted, looked at the dead warrior. His face was stone. Swift Arrow was a good man. I'm sorry. Do not be sorry. He died with honor. Bearclaw looked at Eli. But now we must go. More men will come. They rode through the night, staying off main trails, moving fast. By dawn, they were 10 miles from Fort Laramie. And that's when they saw the smoke. Black, thick, rising from the direction of the fort. Eli's blood went cold. No. They spurred their horses harder. As they crested the final hill, they saw at Fort Laramie under attack. Kane's men, dozens of them, surrounded the walls. Gunfire echoed. Soldiers fired back from the ramparts, but they were outnumbered. They're trying to get to her, Eli said. They're trying to kill her before the ledger arrives. Then we fight, Bearclaw said. We can't fight them all. We do not have to fight them all. We only have to reach her. Eli looked at him, saw the grim determination, and nodded. They rode straight into hell. Gunfire erupted around them. Eli felt a bullet whip past his ear. Another tore through his coat. He didn't stop. A man stepped into his path. Eli shot him, kept riding. Bearclaw's rifle cracked steadily, each shot dropping a man. They reached the fort gate. It was barred from inside. "Open the gate," Eli shouted. "Open the damn gate." A soldier appeared on the wall. "Who are you?" "Eli McCrae. I'm here for my wife. The fort's under attack. I know, let me in." The soldier hesitated, then disappeared. A moment later, the gate creaked open. Eli and Bearclaw rode through. The gate slammed shut behind them. Inside the fort was chaos. Soldiers running, shouting, firing from the walls. Wounded men being dragged to cover. Eli dismounted, grabbed a passing soldier. "Where's Laya McCrae?" "The stockade, but—" Eli was already running. He found the stockade, kicked the door open. Laya's cell was empty. His heart stopped. "Eli!" He spun. Colonel Dawson stood in the doorway, blood on his uniform. "Where is she?" Eli demanded. "In my office. I moved her when the attack started, thought it'd be safer." Dawson's face was grim. But Kane's men breached the south wall. They're inside the fort. "Take me to her, now." They ran through the compound. Gunfire echoed. A soldier fell beside them. Dawson didn't stop. They reached the office. The door was open. Inside, Laya stood pressed against the wall, holding a pistol with shaking hands. 3 of Kane's men lay dead at her feet. She looked up, saw Eli, and the gun fell from her hands. "Eli." He crossed to her, pulled her into his arms. She was shaking, crying, alive. "I've got you," he said. "I've got you. They tried to, I couldn't. I know. You did good." Dawson appeared in the doorway. "We need to move. They'll send more." "The ledger," Eli said. "Did it arrive?" 20 minutes ago. 2 Comanche warriors delivered it, then disappeared. And it's real. Every name, every crime documented. When this gets to Washington, it'll bring down half the territory." "What about Kane?" Dawson's face darkened. "He's still out there, and he knows what's in that ledger. He's not going to stop until everyone who knows is dead." "Then we end this," Eli said. "Now." "How?" "I challenge him, face to face, him and me. Winner takes all." "Eli, no," Laya said. "He'll kill you." "Maybe, but it'll give you time to get that ledger to safety. I'm not letting you die for me, and I'm not letting you live in fear." He cupped her face. "Trust me. Please." She stared at him, then nodded, tears streaming. "Okay." Dawson looked between them. "This is insane." "It's the only way," Eli said. "Tell Kane I'm waiting for him in the courtyard. Just him. No men. No guns except what we draw." "He'll never agree to that?" "Yes, he will. Because he thinks he'll win. And because his pride won't let him refuse." Dawson hesitated, then nodded. "I'll deliver the message." He left. Laya grabbed Eli's shirt. You can't do this. I have to. He's faster than you, meaner. He'll... Laya. Eli put his hands over hers. I've been ready to die since the day I came back from the war. But then you showed up, and you gave me a reason to live. Now I'm going to give you a reason to believe. He kissed her forehead. I love you, and I'm going to keep you safe, even if it kills me. That's what I'm afraid of. Then have faith. He left before she could argue. The courtyard was silent. Soldiers lined the walls. Kane's men stood outside the gate. And in the center, Grady Kane waited. Eli walked forward, stopped 20 paces away. You wanted me, Kane. Here I am. Kane smiled. You're a fool, McCrae. Maybe, but I'm a fool with the ledger, and it's already on its way to Washington. The smile faltered. That's right, Eli said. Every name, every crime, it's over. Then there's no point in letting you live. Except you can't kill me here. Not in front of all these witnesses. You'd hang. Kane's eyes narrowed. What are you suggesting? A duel. You and me. Guns. The old way. And if I win, you walk away. No one stops you. And if you win, you confess to everything. The murder, the trafficking, all of it. Kane laughed. Why would I agree to that? Because you think you'll win. And because if you don't, your men will tear this fort apart trying to kill Laya. But if you accept and you lose, they'll have no reason to keep fighting. Kane considered this, then nodded. All right, McCrae, you want to die like a man, I'll oblige you. They turned, paced away from each other. 10 steps. Eli's hand hovered over his gun. His heart pounded. His hands were steady. He thought of Laya, her smile, her strength, the way she'd whispered, I love you, like it was a secret. Draw, someone shouted. Eli's hand moved. So did Kane's. 2 gunshots cracked the air. Silence. Then Kane fell. Eli stood, gun-smoking blood spreading across his shirt from where Kane's bullet had grazed his ribs. But he was alive. Kane lay on the ground, clutching his chest, blood bubbling from his lips. You, Kane gasped. You. I won, Eli said quietly. He knelt beside Kane. Now confess. Kane's eyes were fading. Go to hell. You first. Kane's breath rattled, then stopped. Eli stood, looked at Kane's men. It's over, he said. Your boss is dead. The ledger's gone. If you're smart, you'll ride away and never come back. For a long moment, no one moved. Then one man turned his horse, then another, then all of them. They rode away. The courtyard erupted in cheers, but Eli didn't hear them. He turned, saw Laya running toward him, and caught her as she threw herself into his arms. You're alive, she sobbed. You're alive. Told you to have faith, he said. She laughed and cried at the same time. Dawson approached. The ledger's secure. I'm sending it to Washington with an armed escort. This is going to shake the whole territory. Good, Eli said. You're a brave man, McCrae. No, just a man who loves his wife. Dawson smiled. That'll do. That night, Laya and Eli sat together in the fort infirmary while a doctor stitched Eli's wound. It wasn't deep, just a graze, but it hurt like hell. You're an idiot, Laya said. I know. You could have died. But I didn't. You're still an idiot. I know. She kissed him anyway. The doctor finished bandaged the wound and left them alone. What happens now? Laya asked. Now we go home. The ranch. If you want, or somewhere else. Montana maybe. Or California. Wherever you want to go, we'll go. She rested her head on his shoulder. I just want to be with you. Then that's where we'll be. They sat there holding each other, while outside, the world slowly stitched itself back together. The ledger reached Washington 3 weeks later. Within a month, arrests were made. Powerful men fell. Children were found and returned to their families. And a preacher's daughter who'd once run for her life finally got to rest. But not yet, because trouble, it turned out, wasn't quite finished with them. They left Fort Laramie on a cold morning 2 weeks after the duel. Eli's wound had healed enough to ride, though it still pulled when he moved too fast. Laya sat behind him on the horse arms, wrapped around his waist, face pressed to his back. Neither of them had slept well. The nightmares came every night now, different versions of the same horror, where Cain's bullet found its mark where Eli fell and didn't get up. "You're shaking," Eli said quietly. "I'm fine." "You're not." She tightened her grip. "I will be." They rode in silence for a while. The prairie stretched empty around them, grass rippling in the wind like water. It should have felt peaceful. It didn't. "Where are we going?" Laya asked. "Home, the ranch." "What if there's nothing left?" "Then we rebuild." She wanted to believe him, wanted to believe they could just go back, start over, pretend the last few months hadn't happened. But she'd seen too much, lost too much. And some things once broken don't go back together the same way. They reached the ranch by late afternoon. Laya's breath caught when she saw it. The house still stood, but barely. Window shattered, door hanging off its hinges, bullet holes pocked the walls. The barn had partially collapsed, roof caved in on one side. The garden she'd planted was trampled, destroyed. Eli, dismounted, helped her down. They stood there staring. "I'm sorry," he said. "For what?" "For this. For bringing you into my life and watching it burn." She turned to him. "Eli, you saved my life. Multiple times. This," she gestured at the ruined house, "this is just wood and nails. We can fix it." "Can we?" She heard the doubt in his voice, saw it in his eyes. He'd been so strong, so steady for so long. But standing here looking at everything he'd built turned to rubble, something in him was cracking. She took his hand. "Yes, we can." They spent the rest of the day assessing the damage. The house was salvageable, structurally sound, just needed repairs. The barn would take more work. Most of the cattle had scattered or been stolen. They found 3 dead in the far pasture shot. As the sun set, they sat on the porch steps, exhausted. "We'll need supplies," Eli said. "Lumber, nails, glass for the windows, food, medicine. How much money do we have?" He was quiet. "Eli." "Not much. Most of it went to getting us to the fort and back. Maybe enough for basic supplies, but not—" He rubbed his face. "Not enough to rebuild properly." "Then we'll make do." "Laya." "We'll make do," she repeated firmly. "People have rebuilt from worse." He looked at her, and something in his expression softened. "How are you this strong?" "I'm not. I'm terrified. But I'm also tired of running, tired of losing. So I'm going to stand here and fight for what's mine." "What's ours?" he corrected. She smiled. "Ours." That night they slept on the floor inside the house, wrapped in blankets, too tired to care about comfort. Laya woke once to find Eli sitting up staring at the broken window. "Can't sleep?" she asked, thinking. "About everything. The ledger, Cain, the children we saved." He paused. "The ones we didn't." She sat up beside him. "You can't save everyone." "I know. Doesn't make it easier." "No, it doesn't." They sat in silence for a while. Then Laya spoke. "My father used to say that doing the right thing doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it feels like failure because you see everything you couldn't fix. But that doesn't mean you didn't matter." Eli looked at her. "You think we mattered?" "I know we did. Because of us, those men are in jail. Because of us, children are going home. That has to count for something." "It does." He pulled her close. You count for something. You count for everything. She rested her head on his shoulder, felt his heart beating steady against her cheek, and for a moment the broken house and the uncertain future didn't seem so overwhelming. Morning brought a visitor. Laya was outside trying to salvage what she could from the garden when she heard hoofbeats. Her hand instinctively went to the knife at her belt. Eli had insisted she carry one now always. But the rider who appeared over the hill wasn't a threat. It was a woman, maybe 40, dressed plainly, riding a sturdy mare. She stopped when she saw Laya raise her hands. "I'm not here to cause trouble," the woman called. Eli emerged from the barn, rifle in hand. "State your business." "My name's Margaret Hollis." Laya's blood went cold. Hollis. The rancher who'd tried to kill them. The man Eli had killed. "You need to leave," Eli said, raising the rifle. "Please, just hear me out." Margaret dismounted slowly, hands still raised. "I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to help." "Help?" Laya moved closer. "Your husband tried to murder us." "I know what my husband did." Margaret's voice was steady, but her eyes were red like she'd been crying for days. "I know about the trafficking, about the children, about all of it." "And you did nothing to stop him," Eli said coldly. "You're right, I didn't, and I'll carry that shame to my grave." Margaret took a shaky breath. "But I'm here now, and I want to make it right." "There's no making this right." "Maybe not, but I can help you rebuild. I have money my husband earned through blood and suffering. I can't undo what he did, but I can use what's left to do something good." She looked at the ruined ranch. "Let me help you fix this, please." Laya glanced at Eli. He was still holding the rifle, jaw tight, eyes hard. "Why should we trust you?" Laya asked. "You shouldn't, but I'm asking anyway." Margaret's voice broke. "I didn't know about the children at first. When I found out, I should have gone to the law. Should have done something. But I was scared, and I was complicit. And now my husband's dead, and I have to live with knowing I could have stopped him and didn't." "So this is about your guilt," Eli said. "Yes, but it's also about those children, and about you two. What you did standing up, risking everything that took courage I never had. The least I can do is help you recover from it." Eli lowered the rifle slightly. "How much money are we talking about?" "Enough to rebuild, enough to replace your cattle, enough to live on for a year or more." "Blood money," Eli said. "Yes, but what you do with it could be clean." Laya stepped forward. "Why us? Why not just donate it somewhere? A church, an orphanage?" "Because you earned it. You fought against the men who made that money. You almost died for it. It should be yours." Eli looked at Laya. She saw the conflict in his eyes, pride warring with practicality, anger warring with exhaustion. "What do you think?" he asked her. Laya studied Margaret, saw the genuine grief there, the shame, the desperate need to do something right in a life that had gone so wrong. "I think we could use the help," Laya said quietly. "And I think refusing it won't change what happened. But accepting it might let us build something good from something terrible." Eli was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. "All right, but you give us the money, and then you leave. We don't want your presence here. We don't want your friendship, just your help." Margaret nodded quickly. "Of course, I understand." She left an hour later, after transferring a bank draft into Eli's name. The amount made Laya's head spin more money than she'd ever seen, enough to rebuild the ranch twice over. As Margaret rode away, Eli stood watching, face unreadable. "Are you all right?" Laya asked. "I killed her husband." "He was trying to kill you." "I know, but she's still a widow because of me. She's a widow because her husband chose evil. You chose survival." Laya took his hand. There's a difference. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it. I know. They spent the next 3 weeks rebuilding. Hired help from town men who needed work and didn't ask questions. The house came together slowly. New windows fixed door-patched walls. The barn took longer, required more hands, but eventually it stood solid again. Laya threw herself into the work. She cooked for the workers, hauled lumber, cleaned, organized. It kept her hands busy and her mind from wandering to dark places. But at night, when the work stopped, the memories came flooding back. One night, she woke screaming. Eli was there, instantly pulling her close. "You're safe. I've got you." "I saw him. Cain, he was—" She couldn't finish. "He's dead. He can't hurt you anymore." "But I keep seeing him. Keep feeling his hands on me when those men broke into the fort. Keep hearing my father's voice." Her whole body shook. "When does it stop?" "I don't know. After the war, it took me years before I could sleep through the night. And even now, sometimes—" He pulled her tighter. "Sometimes the ghosts come back. How do you live with it?" "I found something worth living for. Something stronger than the fear." He tilted her chin up, made her look at him. "I found you." She kissed him, then desperate and clinging, trying to drown the nightmares in his warmth. He kissed her back, gentle at first, then deeper. His hands moved to her hair, her waist pulling her closer. "Eli," she whispered against his mouth. I need to feel alive. Please." He understood. Kissed her again, slower this time, deliberate. They made love there on the newly repaired floor, bodies tangled, hearts pounding, holding each other like the world might end if they let go. Afterward, Laya lay in his arms, finally calm. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For being patient, for not pushing, for letting me come to you when I was ready." He kissed her forehead. "I told you on our wedding night. You just had to be here. Be alive. Everything else would follow." "You were right. Sometimes even fools get lucky." She smiled, closed her eyes, and slept without nightmares for the first time in weeks. The ranch slowly came back to life. They bought new cattle, not many, but enough to start rebuilding the herd. Replanted the garden, fixed fences. By the time autumn arrived, the place looked almost like it had before the attack. But they'd changed, both of them. Laya was harder now, quicker to reach for a weapon, slower to trust strangers. Eli was quieter, more watchful, like he expected danger around every corner. One afternoon, a rider approached. Laya's hand went to her knife automatically. But the rider was a soldier from Fort Laramie. He dismounted, saluted Eli. "Mr. McCrae, ma'am, I have a message from Colonel Dawson." Eli took the sealed envelope, opened it. Read. His expression didn't change, but Laya saw his jaw tighten. "What is it?" she asked. "Dawson wants us to come to the fort. Says there's something we need to see." "What?" "Doesn't say, just says it's important." They rode to Fort Laramie the next day. Colonel Dawson met them at the gate, looking older than Laya remembered. "Thank you for coming," he said. "There's someone here who wants to meet you." He led them to his office. Inside, a young girl sat in a chair, maybe 13, with dark hair and frightened eyes. When she saw Laya, she stood quickly. "Are you Laya Byrne?" the girl asked. Laya nodded. "I am." The girl's eyes filled with tears. "Your father saved me." Laya's breath caught. "What?" "2 years ago I was taken, sold to a work camp in Montana. Your father found me, got me out, brought me to a safe house." The girl wiped her eyes. "He told me if anything ever happened to him, I should find his daughter. Tell her she had a father who loved her. Tell her he died trying to save people like me." Laya couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. "I'm sorry I couldn't come sooner," the girl continued. "I was too scared. But when I heard what you did, how you testified, how you brought those men down, I knew I had to find you, to say thank you." Laya crossed the room, pulled the girl into her arms. They both cried for her father, for all the children, for all the pain and loss and courage it had taken to get here. When they finally pulled apart, the girl asked, "What was he like? Your father?" Laya smiled through tears. He was kind and brave, and he believed everyone deserved grace even when the world told him they didn't. "He gave me grace," the girl said. "He gave me my life back." "What's your name?" Laya asked. "Sarah." "Sarah, do you have somewhere to go, family?" Sarah shook her head. "They're gone, dead or scattered. I've been working at the fort helping in the kitchens. Colonel Dawson's been good to me, but—" She looked down. "I don't know what happens next." Laya glanced at Eli, saw the understanding in his eyes before she even asked. "Come home with us," Laya said. Sarah looked up shocked. "What?" "Come home with us. To our ranch. We've got room. We could use the help. And—" Her voice broke. "And my father would want me to take care of you." "But I'm a stranger. You don't know me." "You're not a stranger. You're someone my father loved. Someone he died protecting. That makes you family." Sarah started crying again. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." Eli stepped forward, put a hand on Sarah's shoulder. "We're sure." Colonel Dawson cleared his throat. "If you're taking responsibility for her, I'll need documentation, legal guardianship." "Then draw up the papers," Eli said. "We'll sign them." An hour later, they left the fort with Sarah riding between them. The girl was quiet, clutching a small bag that held everything she owned, looking terrified and hopeful all at once. "Are you all right?" Laya asked her. "I think so. I'm not used to people being kind without wanting something." "We don't want anything except to help you heal," Laya said. "The same way we're trying to heal." Sarah nodded slowly. "Your father used to say that broken things can still be useful, that cracks let the light in." Laya's throat tightened. That sounded exactly like something her father would say. They reached the ranch by evening. Sarah stood in front of the house taking it in. "It's beautiful," she said. "It's home," Eli said. "And now it's yours too." They showed her inside, gave her the small room off the kitchen, the one they'd been using for storage. It wasn't much, but it was hers. Sarah sat on the bed, ran her hand over the quilt Laya had made, and smiled. "I've never had my own room before," she said quietly. "Well, now you do," Laya said. "And tomorrow we'll teach you how to run a ranch." That night, after Sarah fell asleep, Laya and Eli lay in bed talking. "Do you think we're ready for this?" Laya asked. "Taking care of a child." "No, but I don't think anyone's ever really ready." "What if we fail her?" "What if we don't?" He rolled onto his side, faced her. "Laya, your father spent his life saving children. Now we get to continue that. Not by fighting trafficking rings or testifying in court, but by giving one girl a safe place to grow. That matters." "You're right." She kissed him. "When did you get so wise?" "When I married a woman who wouldn't let me stay broken." She smiled, curled against him, and let sleep take her. The next few months were an adjustment. Sarah was smart, hardworking, and deeply traumatized. She flinched at loud noises, had nightmares. Sometimes went days barely speaking, but slowly, with patience and routine and safety, she began to heal. Laya taught her to cook, to garden, to care for the chickens. Eli taught her to ride, to mend fences, to shoot. They never pushed, never demanded, just offered and let her accept in her own time. One afternoon, Sarah came to Laya while she was kneading bread. "Can I ask you something?" Sarah said. "Of course." "How do you stop being afraid?" Laya paused, hands in the dough. "I don't think you ever stop completely. But you learn to live with it. You find people you trust. You build a life worth protecting. And eventually the fear gets smaller." "Does it?" "It has for me. Slowly. But yes." Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then, "I'm glad I'm here, with you. Laya's eyes stung. I'm glad you're here too. Winter came again. This time it felt different. The house was warm, the pantry was full. The three of them sat around the fire at night, reading, talking, simply existing together. One night, Sarah looked up from the book Eli had given her. Can I call you Aunt Laya? Laya's breath caught. You can call me whatever you want. What about Uncle Eli? Eli looked up, surprised. Then his face softened. I'd be honored. Sarah smiled, a real, genuine smile, the first they'd seen from her. That night, after Sarah went to bed, Laya stood on the porch looking at the stars. Eli came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. What are you thinking? That we've built something good here. Something my father would be proud of. We have. And that I'm happy. For the first time since he died, I'm actually happy. Eli turned her to face him. Good. You deserve to be. So do you. Then I guess we both got lucky. She kissed him slow and deep. When they pulled apart, she rested her forehead against his. I love you, Eli McCrae. I love you too, Laya McCrae. They stood there under the Wyoming stars, holding each other, two broken people who'd found wholeness in the most unlikely way. But life, as always, had one more test for them. It came on a cold February morning in the form of a fever that wouldn't break. Sarah fell ill suddenly. One day she was fine, the next she was burning up, delirious, unable to keep food down. Laya and Eli took turns sitting with her, pressing cold cloths to her forehead, forcing water between her lips. We need a doctor, Laya said on the third day. The nearest one's in Casper. That's a day's ride. Then go. I'll stay with her. Eli looked torn. I don't want to leave you alone. I'll be fine. She needs medicine. Go. He left within the hour, riding hard. Laya stayed beside Sarah, holding her hand, praying to a God she wasn't sure she believed in anymore. Don't leave me, Laya whispered. Please don't leave me. I can't lose anyone else. Sarah's eyes opened, glassy, unfocused. Aunt Laya. I'm here. I'm sorry. For what? For being trouble. You're not trouble. You're family. Laya squeezed her hand. And family doesn't give up. Sarah's eyes closed again. Laya sat there through the night, watching Sarah's chest rise and fall, counting each breath like a prayer. Dawn broke gray and cold. Sarah's fever hadn't broken. If anything, she was worse. And then she heard hoofbeats. Eli burst through the door, a doctor right behind him. The doctor, an older man with kind eyes, went to work immediately. Examined. Sarah gave her medicine, wrapped her in warm blankets. It's pneumonia, he said. But we caught it in time. She'll recover, but she needs rest and care. Laya nearly collapsed with relief. Eli caught her, held her up. Thank you, she told the doctor. Thank you. Over the next 2 weeks, Sarah slowly recovered. Color returned to her cheeks. Her appetite came back. She started smiling again. The morning she finally sat up on her own, she looked at Laya and Eli and said, Thank you for not giving up on me. Never, Laya said. We will never give up on you. Sarah reached out, took both their hands. I know I'm not your real daughter, but you are our real daughter, Eli said firmly. Blood doesn't make family. Love does. And we love you. Sarah cried then, but they were good tears, healing tears. Spring arrived, painting the ranch in gold and green. The cattle thrived, the garden bloomed, and the three of them worked side by side, building a life from the ashes of everything they'd lost. One afternoon, Laya stood in the doorway, watching Eli teach Sarah to rope a fence post. He was patient, encouraging, laughing when she missed. Sarah was laughing too, really laughing, the sound bright and free. And Laya realized something: they'd done it. They'd survived. They'd healed. They'd become a family. Her father would have been proud. She whispered to the wind, hoping somehow he could hear, We made it, Papa. We made it. That night, the three of them sat on the porch watching the sunset. Sarah leaned against Laya's shoulder. Eli's hand covered Laya's. "Do you think the bad times are over?" Sarah asked. Laya considered this. "I think there will always be hard times, but I also think we're strong enough to face them now, together." "Together," Sarah repeated like she was testing the word. "Together," Eli confirmed. They sat there until the stars came out, three souls who'd been broken and battered and nearly destroyed, but they'd survived, and that Laya thought was its own kind of victory. Summer arrived with heat that shimmered off the prairie like water. The ranch had settled into a rhythm that felt almost normal, almost like the violence and fear had happened to different people in a different life. Sarah turned 14 in July. They celebrated with a cake Laya baked dense and lopsided, but sweet. Sarah blew out the candles with tears in her eyes, and when Laya asked what she'd wished for, she said, "Nothing. I already have everything I need." But peace, Laya had learned, was always temporary. The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning. A rider from Fort Laramie delivered it, tipped his hat, and rode off before Eli could ask questions. Laya watched her husband read it, watched his face go from curious to troubled to something harder she couldn't name. "What is it?" she asked. He handed her the letter without a word. It was from Colonel Dawson. Brief. Official. 3 men had escaped from the territorial prison, men whose names had been in her father's ledger. Men who blamed Laya and Eli for destroying their empire. The army had reason to believe they were headed toward the McCrae ranch. Laya's hands shook. When did they escape? 5 days ago. Then they could already be. I know. Eli took the letter back, folded it carefully. We need to prepare. How do you prepare for men who want you dead? He looked at her then, and she saw the soldier in his eyes again. The man who'd survived 3 months of captivity, who'd faced down Grady Kane without flinching. We make sure they don't succeed, he said. They spent the afternoon fortifying. Eli boarded up windows on the ground floor, leaving only narrow gaps to see through. He positioned rifles at strategic points throughout the house, checked ammunition, made sure every gun was loaded and ready. Sarah watched from the doorway, pale but calm. Should I be scared? Yes, Eli said honestly. But fear makes you careful, and careful keeps you alive. What do you need me to do? Stay inside, stay away from windows. If shooting starts, you get in the cellar, and you don't come out until one of us says it's safe. What if neither of you comes? The question hung in the air like smoke. Laya crossed to Sarah, took her shoulders. Then you wait until morning. Then you ride to Fort Laramie and you find Colonel Dawson. You tell him what happened, and you let him take care of you. I don't want you to die. We don't plan to, Laya said. But if something happens, Sarah, you've survived worse than this. You're stronger than you know. You'll be all right. Sarah nodded, but tears streaked her face. I just got you. I can't lose you. You won't. Eli's voice was firm. I promise you, those men are not taking this family from you, not while I'm breathing. That night, none of them slept. They sat in the dark house, weapons close, listening to every sound. The wind, the creak of wood, the distant cry of a coyote. Laya found herself thinking about her father, wondering if he'd been this scared the night Cain came for him, wondering if he'd fought or if he'd accepted his death as inevitable. She wouldn't accept it, not anymore. She'd fought too hard to build this life. Eli, she whispered, if something happens to me, don't. If something happens, you take care of Sarah. You make sure she grows up knowing she was loved. You make sure she... Laya. He took her hand in the darkness. Nothing is going to happen to you. I won't allow it. You can't promise that. Watch me. She wanted to argue, wanted to make him understand that some things were beyond his control. But she saw the determination in his eyes, the absolute refusal to consider defeat, and she realized arguing was pointless. so she kissed him instead. Slow and deep, trying to memorize the taste of him, the feel of his hands in her hair, the sound of his breath catching. "I love you," she whispered against his mouth. "I love you too. And tomorrow, when this is over, I'm going to tell you again. And the day after that. And every day after, until we're old and gray and can't remember our own names." She almost smiled. "Promise? Promise." Dawn broke cold despite the summer heat. Laya made coffee, hands shaking so badly she spilled half of it. Sarah sat at the table quiet, picking at bread she couldn't eat. Eli stood by the window watching the horizon. "How long do we wait?" Laya asked. "As long as it takes." But they didn't have to wait long. Mid-morning, Eli stiffened. "Riders, 3 of them." Laya's heart lurched. She moved to the window, peered through the gap in the boards. 3 men on horseback moving slow, deliberate. Even from a distance, she could see they were armed. Could see the way they studied the ranch calculating. "Sarah," Eli said quietly. "Cellar. Now." "But now." Sarah ran. They heard the cellar door open, close, the sound of the bolt sliding home. Eli picked up his rifle. Laya did the same. "Stay behind me," he said. "If they get past me, they won't. If they do, you shoot to kill. No hesitation, no mercy. Understand?" She nodded. Her palms were sweating. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. The riders stopped 50 yards from the house. One of them, a tall man with a scarred face, called out, "McCrae, we know you're in there." Eli didn't answer. "We just want to talk." "Then talk from where you are," Eli shouted back. The man laughed. "That's not very neighborly. Neither is breaking out of prison to murder people." A pause. Then the man's voice turned cold. "You cost us everything, McCrae. Our money, our freedom, our lives. We're here to collect what's owed." "Nothing's owed. You got what you deserved. That girl in there, the preacher's daughter, she's the one who really needs to pay. Hand her over and we'll let you and the kid live." Laya's blood turned to ice. "No," Eli said flatly. "Think about it, McCrae. Is one woman worth dying for? This one is." Another pause. Then the man sighed. "All right. We tried to be reasonable. Boys." The 3 men dismounted, spread out, started walking toward the house. Eli fired a warning shot. It kicked up dirt at the lead man's feet. "That's close enough." The men stopped. The scarred one smiled. "You can't watch all 3 of us. And you've only got so many bullets. Eventually we'll get in. And when we do—" "When you do, you'll be dead," Eli said. "Because I've survived worse men than you. And I'm not letting you touch my wife." "Your wife," the man spat. "That's what she is now. The little whore who destroyed—" Eli shot him. Not a warning shot this time. A real one. It caught the man in the shoulder, spun him around. He screamed, clutched the wound. The other 2 men drew their guns and opened fire. Bullets tore through the walls. Glass shattered. Laya dropped, covered her head. Felt Eli's body over hers, protecting her. "Stay down," he shouted. He returned fire. 1 shot, 2, 3. Laya heard a man scream. Heard running footsteps. "They're trying to flank us." Eli moved to the other window, fired again. Laya crawled to the window. He'd abandoned, peered out. Saw one of the men circling toward the barn. She raised her rifle, aimed, fired. The kick nearly knocked her backward. The shot went wide. The man laughed, kept moving. She fired again. This time she hit him, not fatally, but enough to make him stumble. He went down, crawling toward cover. "Good shot," Eli called. But the 3rd man had reached the house. They heard him on the porch trying the door. It held. Eli had barred it from the inside. The man cursed, started kicking it. "He's coming through!" Laya shouted. Eli moved fast, positioned himself in front of the door, rifle raised. The door splintered. Once. Twice. On the third kick, it gave way. The man burst through. Eli fired. The man fell backward, hit the porch, didn't move. Silence. Laya's ears rang. She couldn't hear anything except her own breathing, ragged and fast. Couldn't think. Couldn't process. "Is it over?" she whispered. Eli moved to the window, looked out carefully. "The one in the barn's not moving. The one I shot first is on the ground, bleeding out. The one who tried the door is—" He checked the body. Dead. Laya felt sick. She'd helped kill a man, maybe more than one. The weight of it crashed over her like a wave. "Laya." Eli was beside her, taking the rifle from her shaking hands. "Look at me." She did. "You did what you had to do. You protected our family. There's no shame in that." "I don't feel shame. I feel—" She couldn't finish. Didn't have words for the swirling mess of fear and relief and horror and triumph. "I know," he said quietly. "I know." They checked the bodies together. The scarred man was dead, bled out from the shoulder wound that had hit an artery. The one Laya had shot was still breathing barely. The one at the door was gone. Eli tied up the survivor, though the man was in no condition to fight. Then he went to the cellar. "Sarah, it's safe." The door opened slowly. Sarah emerged, pale and shaking, eyes wide. "Is it over?" she asked. "It's over," Eli said. Sarah looked at the destruction-broken door, shattered windows, bullet holes in the walls, looked at the bodies on the porch. Then she looked at Laya and Eli and started crying. "I thought you were going to die," she sobbed. "I thought I was going to lose you." Laya pulled her close. "We're here. We're all right." "But what if next time?" "There won't be a next time." Eli's voice was firm. "This is the end of it. The last of the men who wanted us dead are dead or captured. It's over." But it didn't feel over. Not yet. They buried the dead men in unmarked graves far from the house. Sent word to Fort Laramie about the survivor. Colonel Dawson sent soldiers to collect him, along with a letter commending Eli and Laya for their courage. Courage. Laya turned the word over in her mind. It didn't feel like courage. It felt like survival, like desperation, like doing what had to be done because the alternative was unthinkable. The days that followed were strange. The ranch was quiet, too quiet. Every sound made them jump. Every rider in the distance sent Laya's heart racing. Sarah had nightmares again, woke up screaming, and Laya would hold her and whisper that it was over. It was over. It was over. But trauma, she was learning, didn't care about logic. It lived in the body, in the bones, in the places words couldn't reach. One night, 2 weeks after the attack, Laya woke to find Eli sitting on the edge of the bed, head in his hands. "What's wrong?" she asked. "I keep seeing them. The men I killed. I know they deserved it. I know it was self-defense, but I still see them." She sat up, put her hand on his back. "You're a good man, Eli. A good man who did hard things to protect the people he loves. That doesn't make you a killer. That makes you human." "Does it?" "Yes." She moved around to face him. "And I'm grateful for it. If you hadn't been willing to fight, we'd be dead. Sarah would be alone again. This family wouldn't exist." He looked at her, eyes haunted. "How do you do it? How do you stay so strong?" "I'm not strong. I'm just stubborn. I decided a long time ago that the men who killed my father wouldn't get to kill me too. And I've been holding on to that ever since." She took his hands. "But I don't have to hold on alone anymore. I have you. And that makes all the difference." He pulled her close, buried his face in her hair. "I don't deserve you." "Yes, you do. We deserve each other. We deserve this life we've built." They sat there in the darkness, holding each other, two broken people who'd somehow become whole. Summer faded into autumn. The leaves turned gold and red. The air grew crisp. Life slowly returned to normal, or as normal as it could be after everything they'd been through. Sarah started smiling again. Started talking about the future, about maybe learning to read better, about helping run the ranch when she was older, about finding her own happiness someday. One afternoon she came to Laya with a question. "Do you think I'll ever stop being afraid?" Laya considered this. "I think the fear becomes part of you, but it doesn't have to control you. You get to decide how big it gets, how much space it takes up in your life. How do you make it smaller? You live, you love, you build things worth protecting, and slowly, the good things outweigh the bad." Sarah nodded slowly. "I want that. I want more good than bad." "Then that's what we'll give you." Winter came again, but this time Laya wasn't afraid. The house was solid. The pantry was full. The three of them were together, and that was enough. One night in December, snow falling soft outside, they sat around the fire. Sarah was reading. Eli was whittling a piece of wood into something that might eventually be a horse. Laya was mending a shirt. It was such a simple moment, so ordinary. And yet Laya felt her throat tighten with emotion. This was what her father had died for. Not grand gestures or dramatic victories, just this safety warmth family. The quiet dignity of ordinary life. "What are you thinking?" Eli asked, looking up from his whittling. "That we made it. Against all odds, we actually made it." He smiled. "We did." "Do you ever think about leaving, going somewhere new where no one knows our past?" "Sometimes. But then I remember this is our home. We bled for it. We fought for it. Why should we let anyone chase us away from it?" "You're right." She looked around the room at the walls they'd rebuilt, the furniture they'd restored, the life they'd created. "This is ours." "Ours," Sarah echoed, looking up from her book. "I like that word." Spring arrived, painting the ranch in new life. The cattle were thriving. The garden was already sprouting. And Laya was pregnant. She'd suspected for weeks, but hadn't said anything, afraid to hope, afraid to jinx it. But when the doctor confirmed it, she couldn't hide her joy. She told Eli that night, watching his face transform from confusion to shock to pure, unfiltered happiness. "A baby," he whispered. "A baby." He pulled her close, kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. "When?" "October, the doctor thinks." "October." He said it like he was testing the word. "We're going to have a baby in October." "Are you happy?" "Happy?" He laughed, the sound bright and free. "Laya, I don't have words. Yes, I'm happy. I'm terrified. He kissed her again. "I'm grateful. For you. For this. For everything." They told Sarah over breakfast the next morning. She stared at them, fork halfway to her mouth. "A baby," she said. "A baby," Laya confirmed. Sarah's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. "I'm going to be a sister. If you want to be." "I want to be." Sarah stood, came around the table, hugged them both fiercely. "I want to be a sister so badly." The months that followed were filled with preparation. Eli built a cradle, spending hours in the barn, sanding and polishing until it gleamed. Sarah helped Laya sew tiny clothes, blankets, all the things a baby would need. They argued playfully about names, made plans, dreamed about the future. The nightmares came less frequently now. The fear was still there, lurking in quiet moments, but it had less power. They'd survived the worst. They'd built something real and lasting. And now they were bringing new life into it. Laya's father had always said that hope was the most powerful force in the world. She hadn't believed him when she was younger, had thought it was naive, wishful thinking. But now she understood. Hope wasn't ignoring the darkness. It was choosing to light a candle anyway. It was planting seeds, even when you weren't sure they'd grow. It was loving people even when you knew you could lose them. Hope was what had kept her running when Cain hunted her. Hope was what had made Eli offer her his name and protection. Hope was what had brought Sarah into their lives. And hope was what would carry them forward no matter what came next. October arrived with a cold snap that frosted the grass white. Laya went into labor on a Tuesday evening, gripping Eli's hand so hard she thought she might break it. The doctor came from town. Sarah boiled water, brought blankets, hovered nervously. Eli stayed beside Laya the whole time, whispering encouragement, wiping sweat from her forehead, never leaving. The pain was staggering. But underneath it, Laya felt something else: determination. Purpose. The absolute refusal to give up. And then as the sun set, gold through the window, a baby's cry filled the room. "It's a boy," the doctor announced, wrapping the infant in a blanket. "A healthy baby boy." Eli took him carefully, like he was holding something infinitely precious and impossibly fragile. Tears streamed down his face. "He's perfect," Eli whispered. "Laya, he's perfect." She reached for the baby, took him in her arms, looked down at the tiny face, the dark hair, the eyes that hadn't decided their color yet. "What should we name him?" Eli asked. Laya thought of her father, of his kindness, his courage, his unwavering belief in redemption. "Samuel," she said. "After my father." Eli nodded. "Samuel McCrae, I like that." Sarah leaned over, looked at her new brother with wonder. "Hi, Samuel," she whispered. "I'm your big sister, and I'm going to protect you forever." Laya looked around the room at her husband, her daughter, her son. At the life they'd built from ashes and blood and love. They'd been broken. They'd been hunted. They'd faced death and worse. But they'd survived. And more than that, they'd thrived. Her father had died believing that truth and justice would prevail, that goodness could overcome evil, that broken people could be made whole. He'd been right. The journey had been brutal. The cost had been high. But here in this moment, holding her son while her husband and daughter looked on with love, Laya finally felt complete. She thought of that first night with Eli when she'd whispered, "I don't know how to be a wife." When he'd answered, "Then just lie down and love me." She'd thought he meant surrender. But she understood now he'd meant trust. He'd meant hope. He'd meant choosing love even when the world gave you every reason not to. And she had. And it had saved them both. Years from now, when Samuel asked about his grandfather, she'd tell him the truth. About a preacher who'd fought for children he'd never met. About a man who'd died protecting the innocent. About how his sacrifice had led to justice, to healing, to this family that wouldn't have existed without his courage. And she'd tell him that his grandfather's legacy lived on, not in monuments or memorials, but in every act of kindness they showed, in every child they protected, in every moment they chose love over fear. That night, after the doctor left and Sarah went to bed and the baby slept in his cradle, Laya and Eli stood together on the porch looking at the stars. "Do you ever think about that first night?" Laya asked. "When you offered to marry me, every day. Do you regret it?" Eli turned to her, cupped her face in his hands. "Laya, marrying you was the best decision I ever made. You gave me a reason to live. You gave me a family. You gave me everything I didn't know I was missing. You gave me the same." He kissed her soft and sweet. "I love you. I love you too." They stood there, two souls who'd found each other in the darkness and built a life in the light. They'd been strangers once, survivors, refugees from their own broken pasts, but they weren't strangers anymore. They were husband and wife, parents, partners, home. And that, Laya thought as she leaned against Eli's chest and listened to his heartbeat, was more than she'd ever dared to hope for. Love in the West didn't announce itself with thunder. It arrived quiet as morning light, steady as breath between heartbeats, and strong enough to outlast every storm that tried to break it.